Finally, Joe Biden acknowledges his brand new grandbaby. I wonder what caused a change of heart. How's everybody doing? My name is Anthony Brian Logan, and today we got to talk about President Joe Biden finally acknowledging his brand new grandbaby after refusing to do so for quite a while. And as a matter of fact, if you would ask him about the grandchild, the granddaughter in this case, he would get kind of upset. He would be like, you're the problem. You're a bad person for bringing it up. Now, what am I talking about? His son, Hunter, who is 52 or 53 years old, fully grown man, had a daughter back in 2018, if I'm not mistaken. Now, this was in the midst of his crack addiction. I'm not quite sure if that is done, meaning his crack smoking days. Anyway, he was fully into the addiction, didn't know what was going on. It was a random encounter, so he says. And as a result, a child was produced in Arkansas, out of all places in the world. So there was some court action in Arkansas, and it was determined that the child does in fact belong to Hunter Biden. And for a while, Joe refused to acknowledge the baby, talking about, oh, I got 6 grandkids. Well, what about number 7? Now, before I get into anything else, let's roll this clip right here. This is going to be one of the many times Joe Biden was asked about the grandbaby. And if you want to see this in full without my commentary, link as always will be in the description. If you're on IG, visit the link in the bio, go to the corresponding article on the website. But without further ado, let's go ahead and roll it.
President, I'm wondering if you have a comment on this report and court filing out of Arkansas that your son Hunter just made you a grandfather again.
No, that's a private matter. I have no comment.
Mr. Vice President,
But only you would ask that.
we gotta go.
You're a good man. You're a good man.
Thank you guys. This is all
Classy.
the time we have. Mr. Vice
Getting mad at him, it's like, why are you getting mad at me for asking the question? This is your son. You're the president. It's not off limits. Now, some are going to say, oh, ABO, why you got to ask about the grandbaby, all this and that. Look, if this was Donald Trump and the same question was asked of him about Donald Trump Jr. or Eric or Ivanka or any of the Trump kids, the media would not let it go. They would hammer him relentlessly over it. Why aren't you acknowledging your grandchild? Aren't you proud of your grandchild? Your son smoking crack, had the baby. They would not let him up. So we can't give them that kind of grace to let them up, which Ukraine tie you on. I'm not letting you get up off of that. Not in the least bit. Okay. Now, here is a video from CNN. I want to see what they say. I want to see their reaction to the whole situation. And of course, I'm going to pause it at certain points to give my 2 cents, but let's go ahead and check it out.
You can call the Hillary Clinton campaign and ask them about
been there, done that.
who you want to run against.
How that worked out. Yeah.
Be careful what you wish for in terms
Exactly.
of who you want to run against. All right. So one thing that we heard some of the GOP candidates bring up in Iowa, President Biden is now acknowledging his 7th grandchild. There was a statement out on Friday night. Our son Hunter, they said, and Navy's mother London are working together to foster a relationship that is in the best interests of their daughter, preserving her privacy as much as possible going forward. This is not a political issue. It's a family matter. Jill and I only want what is best for our grandchildren, including Navy. So
Now, I'm going to pause right here. This is kind of ghetto, baby mama, baby daddy action, crack smoking, crack in the White House, stealing money allegedly. This is some real ghetto criminal type stuff here, Joe Biden. Let's kind of tighten up and get it together. Okay. Are we trailer park trash or are we White House residents? I can't tell, but I digress.
just for a little bit of context here, the president had come under scrutiny for only acknowledging his other grandchildren, his first 6 grandchildren. I shouldn't say first 6 grandchildren, but the others that the family has acknowledged who have the Biden last name. And his family ultimately decided to do this. And Michael LaRosa, you worked for Joe Biden for a long time. Can you help us understand this a little bit? Because I do think for many of the critics, certainly, and there was a Maureen Dowd column about this in the New York Times, this is a very innocent little girl who did nothing wrong.
Whoa. It's not about a little girl. It's about Hunter Biden, and it's about Joe Biden. Joe Biden, acknowledge your grandchild, sir. Why don't you want knowledge of some of the grandchild? What did the grandchild do to you? You think that that's not Hunter's child? Are you denying Hunter's paternity of the child? Or are you ashamed of the child because of the fact that the child was conceived under drugs and alcohol, under addiction. Are you going to call the child a crack baby? Is that what you're going to do? Is that why you don't want to acknowledge it? So it's not about the child specifically. It's about the adults around the child.
Despite, what her father, Hunter Biden, may have been going through at the time. Why now for the Bidens? And honestly, why did it take them so long?
Well, two things. First of all, I respect you as a journalist for having to ask the question, but it is a very gross and uncomfortable subject to talk about as it is.
Well, let's not call a little girl gross. Okay?
No. I'm talking about the inner sanctum of a family and the privacy of what goes on in a family. And you're right, that little girl, she should not be weaponized by the Republicans who are down there in Arkansas with conservative lawyers and conservative PR people and posting on their Instagram. They shouldn't be weaponizing her. And everybody's welcome to make their own.
So it's the Republicans' fault that Hunter Biden had this random baby while he was high on crack, and then the Bidens didn't want to acknowledge the baby for whatever the reason. It's the Republicans' fault that happened. Okay, cool. All right, now are you going to say that it's their fault for putting the crack pipe to Hunter's lips, making them smoke the crack? Are you going to say that as well? I mean, I'm having a hard time seeing your connection here. But of course, this guy's biased. He worked for the Bidens, so of course he's going to go on CNN and say a thing like that, of course.
Personal judgments on the Biden, but it is frankly, they are a family, a real family with real feelings, with real struggles and challenges, like every family. And I guarantee you that the more that the Republicans make this an issue, it will not work. Voters appreciate, voters relate to having struggles.
I don't want to, look, if you're the president, I don't want you to be in there with crack smokers and not acknowledging your grandkids. I want you to have your own life in order if you're going to rule the country. Okay, struggle stories and whatnot, you could watch that on television, but I don't want you to be in the White House running the show. And I think that most people are going to feel the same way, left or right, or politically agnostic.
In their own families, they root for people with vulnerabilities. They root for people who understand and relate to them. And, ultimately, the Bidens are a real family, just like everyone else.
Sure. But Scott Jennings, the president has made being a family man a central part of his political identity.
It's not Republicans, with all due respect, who made Hunter Biden into a complete scumbag on this and other issues. The ignoring his own daughter for 4 years, and the president of the United States hanging up a stocking for the dog, and not for his 7th grandchild.
Okay, look, we can also have sympathy for people who are struggling with addiction. Let's keep this conversation.
No. Let's not, because I mean, who was smoking the crack? Was it Hunter or was it Joe? Joe was the one that refused to acknowledge the grandchild. Joe was the one that put up a stocking for his dog and not for the 7th grandchild. So let's just stay focused on what needs to be focused on here, which is ultimately Joe Biden. Hunter to a lesser extent.
Respect.
Listen, I totally agree. And you know where I'm from? A lot of families deal with addiction. And you know who ends up picking up the pieces? The grandparents. And in this case, the grandparents would not acknowledge this little girl. It is offensive. But the bottom line is...
But they have now.
Oh, what a hero. The polling must have been brutal.
Just
the polling must have been brutal.
No one ever questioned the heart and integrity of Joe Biden as a family man and as a human being and the pain and suffering.
Man, anybody's trying to hear that, man. There's nobody's trying to hear your shaky voice, about to start crying. Nobody wants to hear that. I'm my man right here. He is me, and I'm him. We are right here. We're at the hip, joined. I feel you 100% with your body language all day long. This guy right here has got to go.
Suffering and loss that man has been through, including the struggles he deals with.
30 seconds, Karen.
I think it is far more appalling to see Republicans this week, starting with you, Scott, calling the Vice President of the United States a liar when it comes to the very real personal stories. I don't need, some, academic to tell me about the horrors of slavery.
Are we going there? Okay, is she black or something? Some kind of mixed biracial? I don't know what's going on. We went to a whole different thing. We're talking about Florida Department of Education. Let's see where she goes with this. It appears to be a complete diversion away from the fact that for years now, for about 4 or 5 years, we're talking about 2018 now that this happened, before Biden became the president. We're talking about the child being ignored for that long, not the not what's happening right now in Florida with the Department of Education.
It's in my own family. I know from my own family stories, you now have black conservatives who agree with her. Are they liars too? I think that conversation
Yes, they are.
is far more trouble.
They're not necessarily liars. They're just misinformed. They don't understand anything. I just saw a black conservative today put up a statement talking about DeSantis put out a book, and he said in the book that the 3/5 compromise was it helped the non-slave states. And the black conservative said that was a lie. It's like, that was not a lie. The 3/5 compromise did help the non-slave states, because if slaves were counted as a full person and not 3/5, then the slave states had more representation in Congress because it goes by population. You see what I'm saying? But because people get so much into their feelings, they don't even understand common history.
Than an addict and a bad family situation.
Let me put a pause on this. Last word here, and then we're going to go to break.
It's a nice attempt at a pivot, but it's not about Biden's addiction. This is about Joe Biden not recognizing his granddaughter for 4 years. The statement might be well worded, but it's inexcusable. It took him 4 years to acknowledge the child of God that was conceived regardless of the circumstances of that conception. It's a child of God he wouldn't recognize for 4 years.
I understand why you'd rather talk about that than talk about the fact that your party is demonizing people who want to tell the truth about racism while you're trying to reach out to African American.
Okay, we're going to keep this. We're going to keep.
Is she black? Like, what is going on here? She's looking like Roseanne Barr. Anyway, I digress. I digress. And shout out to Roseanne. No hate, but Roseanne not black. And I'm not quite sure this lady right here is either. That one drop Jim Crow rule going on. But as I close, I want to say this. Shout out to the Bidens for finally acknowledging their grandchild after 4 years, going on 5 years. I mean, it only took lawyers and bad polling and bad PR for them to do it. And my thing is, what's the point of trying to hide it? What is the purpose? I don't even understand. There's no sense. Like, we're going to know that's your child or your grandchild. Why not just come out and admit it? This is so dumb. It's emblematic of what's going on in the Biden administration. Dumb things that make no sense, that don't do any good for themselves or anyone else. But I think I'll leave that right there for now. And what say you? How do you feel about what's going on here with the Bidens finally acknowledging their 7th grandchild? Whatever your thoughts are on that, let me know in the comments below. You guys know where I'm at. I guess they were ashamed because Hunter was smoking crack and got some random lady pregnant. I don't know what she did for a living. I don't want to speculate, but you guys can in the comments. But maybe they were ashamed. But there's no purpose. It's like, we're going to find out. You think we're not going to go down there and get some lawyer action and get down to the bottom of it? You think she won't file child support? You think she won't file? She won't go to court and figure out what's going on? This was completely unnecessary, completely dumb. And people are trying to pivot away from that because they know they can't explain it. But whatever your thoughts are, please let me know in the comments below. And that's all I got to say for this video. If you like what you heard, please comment, rate, share, and subscribe. Peace.